Welcome everyone to the LIBERcast episode 95. I want to thank everyone before I'm starting. Thank you for joining us in the live and when if you come back later to listen to it, thank you very much for being there and supporting my work. I appreciate every one of you, every guest that I'm having, and I'm really blessed for having the chance to stumble upon the great work and how it uh, drove me to do this work, this important work of putting it outside for the world to understand and share our experience in this world of deceptions, so we can see through it. So before I'm bringing up Chris, I'm gonna bring up a little let's see, the One Great Work Network. This is a website about a network of awesome people who have a lot of interesting stuff, knowledges of every kind: psychology, the occult, spirituality, and then other important things that I miss. Uh, there's hundreds of hours of stuff you can get there. Like we're like 70 or so, something like that, awesome presenters and content creators that are busting their ass off to inform us about these important information. So go there on the onegreatworknetwork.com. So tonight it's gonna be about slavery. It's gonna be about violence. And the one thing that brings the more violence is government. And we're gonna keep repeating it until people understand why it is violence, why it is wrong, why it is evil in nature. We're gonna try our best to explain why and how in a quick episode, and I'm gonna probably doing more of that. And I have the French side that I have to cover, so there's plenty of work, and I encourage everyone to entertain these ideas. I entertain the information that we're giving to you tonight, and not believe, and do your homework, do your own research, go through the history, go through the occult and natural law, and really understand why and how. These are the two important questions that we have to ask ourselves as a civilization, as a society, if we want to have for our children, for our elders, and for ourselves a world, half of the evil that we have now. If we want a better world for the children, we have to act now. This is where it starts, is in the now. So I encourage people to do their research and go into the action. Do something about it. And this is why I'm going to cover this in both language, and I'm going to pound this information until people understand. This is what we have to do. So I'm going to welcome Chris Nelson. Thank you for being there, brother. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
So let's start this. Chris, just tell me, and tell us, where did it start? How did you do it, and where are you now on the moment with Evolve Consciousness?
Sure. My site, I started it at the end of November in 2013. So I could just say, like, since 2014, I've been making content. I started with writing articles, and then I guess I gained more confidence, started doing putting some of that content. I was making articles and infographics, so I'm good at like grouping ideas together and making them into images and infographics. So that's one of the things that I've done a lot of. And then eventually I was doing audio of articles and put them together with images and put that as a video. And then I was just doing presentations of like series of infographics I developed to elucidate concepts that I understood that I viewed as important, mostly related to truth, the importance of truth, consciousness, knowing thyself, and aspects of natural law and causality, and how we process information and come to understand reality and yeah, like truth discovery. Those are like the main topics. So the trivium was some of the main work that I've done as well. And yeah, so where I am now is I undertook I guess, the challenge and the task of deeply going into natural law and explaining the different facets of it. And so that's after a hiatus of several years of creating, doing presentations, trying to get a life together, and now I'm back the beginning of this year in March. So I did three so far, three parts: Natural Law, the Science of Morality, Part 1, 2, and 3. Part 1 was rights. Part 2 was slavery. So since we're getting into that tonight, I have some infographics that I could share when we talk about it, about slavery and the belief in authority. Part 3 was true freedom. And I've been working on one for the past several months. It's taking a long time. It's morality itself. And then after morality, I'll do Part 5, the law of freedom. And then Part 6 will probably be natural law itself, like the term, and explaining that. So I'm cutting it up into different parts, and it was like 2 hours the first one. The next one was like over 3 hours. The third one's over 4 hours. The morality one's going to be huge. There's like 100 slides I have in it, so it's like the biggest thing I've ever done. So it's probably going to be a lot of hours. I don't know how long it's going to take me to go through it, but it's going to be it's going to be really long. My stuff's already long enough, and that one I'll have a lot less people even going through that one, since it'll be that much bigger than any of the other presentations I've done before, I assume. That's where I am now, and yeah, I'll end it
Yeah,
there.
that's, wow, that's a lot of work that you've been doing. And I know how making slides and putting stuff together can be. Um, Thank you for your work. Thank you for what you're doing.
You're welcome.
Everyone is, we need most people that we can, actually. And this is a an example. We're an aggregate of people who understood these rhetorics and natural laws. And when you can actually understand it, and you understand the rhetorics, and you understand the responsibility that comes with this knowledge, and it changes everything. um I don't know how it affected you in your life, Chris, but for me it has been a really life-changing path, in every aspect of my life. um and this is why I decided to go into a shadow working, and this spiritual healing, and this going through this ordeal of psyche cleansing, and making peace with this world, and making peace with myself. And I think this is the one thing that I keep bringing on, because I think it's an important uh, uh, step through the end of slavery as such, because we're prisoners of our own conditioning, and our own mind control, our own culture, and intergenerational mind control. And these things are really heavy. We can see it everywhere. The behaviors of people are in fact aligned with the lack of knowledge, and the lack of love. And I'm not talking about being in love with someone else. I'm talking about self-love and self-respect. And I think this is the thing there. I mean, in all these years, um, I think this is the one thing I really did work on this part of my side, and this is the old conditioning, all the things, that all the lies, all the deceptions that were thrown when we were younger, when we were at school, and all these things. And this conditioning can be fucking tedious to get rid of, and most of the time we're stuck with these old patterns, these old cycles that keep coming back, because this is a lifelong work. It's not going to be, if you start today, and I'm not talking to you, Chris, but if you start today, you're it's not going to be done next week. It's a years long, decade long work, hard work of being able to use discernment, and being focused, and being objective on how you perceive this world, and how you perceive the others, and how you perceive yourself. So before I'm getting into a tangent, once again, I'm gonna bring up something. I'm gonna read the actual introduction of um, let me see. I didn't look at that. Let me see. So I'm gonna share this like that, and people who uh, like to read, you're gonna have it on the screen. So chapter 1 of the End of All Evil, from Jeremy Locke. So chapter 1, freedom. The definition of freedom is the infinite value of human being. The definition of evil is the destruction of freedom. Everything that is evil teaches people that they have the limited value. Simple. Truth is always simple. All people recognize truth because all people are intelligent being. It is the true nature. It is the nature of evil to create artificially complex ideas. It does this to hide and obfuscate the freedom it destroys. If you remove the complexities and fear from your life, you will find a plain and beautiful truth. This truth is the nature of your worth. Value of men. To understand freedom is to understand the value of a person. Everything that evil wants is to disguise and destroy your value. All authority is created by evil men to disguise your worth. To understand your own worth is to understand the nature of liberty. This book is fucking awesome. I like this very much. It's very simple, very well explained. And for the last part there, evil. The crucial key for understanding our world is to understand the nature of evil. Evil challenges the value of people by denying them the opportunity to make their own choices, by denying them the chance to grow strong in learning and understanding. I mean, we, and what is not mentioned there is what is motivating, and what is supporting, and what consent is, and why they have this mass consent, and how does it work. And I think what we can start with is, why is government is violence? You want to say something about it?
Sure.
Go on.
Well, we can just state simply what the word means. Gubern mente, to govern the mind, or other cognates of government or related words to govern is control, to steer, to direct. So it's about essentially mind control, because you're trying to control the mind, not with Kubrick Clockwork Orange probes in the brain or anything, but through the influence of word symbol magic to get people to believe things that aren't true. And that's the foundational basis of so much deception, but especially when it relates to mind control, because they convince you of I guess, the ultimate deception founded on that use of word magics to manipulate the mind and get it to believe things, unreality as reality. And that would be the belief in authority, to believe that there is such a thing as the legitimacy of the belief in authority of some to control or rule others, to be masters over others. And that's an unreality, and that's the current reality we've accepted to live in right now, is that unreality. We don't live in an optimal world of cohabitation, cooperation, and living together for optimized survival and interoperability and reciprocal living. We live in an artificially constructed, well, a negative artificial construction. We can construct whatever we want with the artifices of our hand to create anything artificial, but the one we've created is a very negative form of living, and a negative way and path of living. It's completely false, and it's an unreal thing that we've made reality. Unreal in terms
Mhm.
of against the reality and what is true, but it's the reality that exists. It's not what should be the reality, but that's what we've decided to allow, as you said, through our consent and allowing it to happen.
Mhm. And and what I wanted to bring is simple things. It's something that some things that people can uh, uh, easily see. And I think I'm gonna start with uh, uh, coercion. This is a form of violence.
Yeah, it's like the biggest
Deception.
one.
Yeah, deceptions and lies. You have direct physical violence. We have fear-based mind control, and I'm gonna get through this fear thing there because there's plenty to say about it. And the one thing I think that keeps all this together is cowardice and ignorance.
And apathy. Apathy is a big part. Not
Apathy,
caring. Yeah,
absolutely.
that's one of the. That's like the negative flame. If you don't have the flame of care for truth, well, it doesn't fuel the rest. It doesn't drive you to seek to learn or to want to do something about the condition.
And the one thing the why did I use cowardice? Because I mean, it's all fear based, and and I want to bring something. There is no justification for the need of government ever. It's like justifying wars or justifying violence against your brothers and your sisters.
Yeah, it's all fear based, like you said. That's the justification everyone has.
This is a this premise there is terrifying when you have the eyes to see, when you are able to discern the patterns into the cultures, and it's everywhere now, and there it's blatant, it's right in our faces, but people don't have the necessary, the fundamental knowledge to be able to discern these things. And it starts with, and I want to bring that because I mean, I wrote on my paper there different fears that can be a causal factor for obedience and conformity. So the first one is the mother of all fear, and it's the fear of the unknown. This one is big, and I can talk about it all the evening. Well, essentially, what I want to people to realize is that being fearful of what you don't understand and what you cannot accept is a prison for the mind. Essentially, fear of the unknown is fear of chaos, fear of death, fear of being a responsible human being, is the refusal of owning your own responsibility. Is it the slide that you want to bring up?
Oh, just related to what you're talking about. You're talking about the fear of the unknown, and then you mentioned fear of chaos. Well, that was one of the infographics I made in my last
I'm gonna put
presentation.
it up right there.
It's got a lot of stuff in it, but yeah, you know this stuff anyways.
Fear of the unknown is the mother of all fear. Fear from uh, 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 confronting the external world and the inner world of your own temple is gonna place you in a place of ignorance and complacence. It is a it is a it is the behavior of a kid, of children of young age. It is the lack of knowledge, is the lack of intellectual maturity, of spiritual knowledge, and the lack of it. And it applies on in every stratas of cultures. It is a terrible curse that we're plagued with. And if you Chris, if you want to uh, maybe talk about a little your slide there, I would be interested in it, and I'm sure people would be interested in knowing what is it all about. So you have
Sure.
fear, chaos there.
Yeah, I'll just give a rundown.
Yep.
So, like you're saying, this relates to fear of the unknown, fear of chaos. So, when we have true freedom, that's the goal that you and I and others are trying to attain. And with that eventuality that we're trying to create, it's that means there's infinite possibilities. And with those infinite possibilities, that means there's the possibility of order existing, and it's also the possibility of chaos existing. And when you have order, well, that's when others don't harm you, when natural law is respected, obeyed, and followed. But when chaos happens, that's when others harm you, or when you harm others. It works both ways. And that's when natural moral law is opposed and violated. And in order to bring back order, well, we have to engage in self defense, which brings back justice from that injustice created. And that brings us back to order. So we can get order, but it requires, like you're saying, courage to act, to enact self defense for ourselves and for others in alignment with moral law in order to bring back justice whenever that violation creates an injustice. And just as a side, there's not only the chaos of others harming you, there's harming yourself as a chaos, but it's not a natural moral law violation. So I just have that on the side of the chaos box there, just as that's part of
Mhm.
chaos that you create for yourself, but it's not something you're doing to others. So it's not creating chaos necessarily in the aggregate and the collective. So when we have true freedom is infinite possibilities, well, what we have as a fear of that chaos, of those infinite possibilities of both being possible, well, you have people going towards slavery, which is control and limiting possibilities, because they don't want the infinite possibilities of the possibility of chaos happening and then having to deal with it. So they want to control things. They want to limit the possibilities of what can occur, and that leads them into the dark path. So that's why it's red and blue. Red is the dark path, and blue is the light path. So when we
Mhm.
get to fear of chaos, well, that's the fear of these possibilities, of the possibility of chaos emerging, and then having to take on that personal responsibility to do something about it. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the unknown. And that's what people fear, is the dangerous unknown, because it's not something they can plan for, because it's unknown. And that's when that's why they have actually fear of freedom. So they don't want freedom, because with freedom comes, yes, order is a possibility and chaos is a possibility. So they have the fear of the chaos, and that means they actually fear freedom and they don't actually want freedom. So they beg for control and actually beg for slavery, even if they're not aware that it's slavery. They think falsely that the control they're begging for is actually, quote, order, but it's not order, it's chaos that they're asking for. But they don't understand this, and that's the trick the government plays. And I have another infographic where I have going in a circle about how the government, anyways, I could, remind me after and I could bring it up, related to the government and media feeding people, it's like a Hegelian dialectic to feed uh, disorder and then have people beg for order, like problem reaction solution. So then the government creates more control that people think is order, and then that creates more resistance, which they say is disorder. And then people say, oh my god, there's that threat of these people, these rebels. It always brings to mind the Star Wars, and we're going to bring order to the galaxy, the evil guys say, and then the rebels are the bad guys who are actually the good guys trying to bring more freedom. Well, that's what we have in our reality. So back
Mm-hmm.
to the back to here, when we have fear of chaos, it's the fear of possibilities, the fear of the unknown that people view as dangerous, and that's actually the fear
Yep.
of freedom, which they view as dangerous. And going from there is that fear of chaos, that fear of the unknown. Well, that creates anxiety, stress, insecurity, and discomfort in people. So what they seek is control or security and safety, obviously from the government. So that's desired, and the authority provides that, the ruler provides that, government provides that, and that's the control and security is what's necessary to prevent chaos. That's what that's always how they sell it as, right? It's like, oh, this is going to prevent the bad thing. We need these. We need to create order and more control to prevent the bad thing, but they're actually creating the chaos and they're making things worse because they're making people more infantile and not owning up to their own personal responsibility to get engaged in life. And they just want to pass off their responsibility to the mommy, daddy, nanny state that replaces their parents, because they don't want to grow up. They want to remain eternal children. And then they, with the support of that authority, well, then there's commands of obedience, commands of compliance, what you are allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do. And those are obviously, as we know, those are actually claims of ownership. When you're trying to tell people you're allowed to do this but you're not allowed to do that, that's
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, it drives back up to a claim of ownership upon your body. And I've explained this in the first part of the Natural Law Science of Morality, Part 1, Rights. If people want to learn more about that, they can go there. And so what we have in the end is safe, right? Safe slavery, because it's not the dangerous unknown of freedom. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what we end up getting, is, which is what people want, even though they don't know it in those terms that it's actually slavery. But that's what they end up getting, and that's what they desire. And obviously, that slavery, well, that creates chaos. That's the dark world order that we keep increasing in severity. We increase the severity of slavery and just make it more dark and more dark. And then that feeds back to the top, the fear of chaos. And then the process starts all over, and then it just keeps looping and looping and looping. And we just get more of that. And also the safe slavery, well, that's imposing limits on free will, the destruction of freedom, just like the first line or the second sentence or whatever it was of the End of All Evil by Jeremy Locke. Well, that's all
Mm-hmm.
this is what evil is the destruction of freedom, because it limits free will, which is a destruction of freedom. So that's right there. That's exemplifying the quote from The End of All Evil. So what that does, the limiting free will, is uh, I lost the image. I don't have. I'll open it on my
Sorry
computer.
about that. Here we go.
Okay, thanks, because I was using the stream. So you limit free will, you destroy freedom. Again, that just limits and destroys possibility. Again, the first chapter, the first page of the book was talking about that. So you limit, destroy possibility, and that involves limiting and destroying imagination, because that's what possibility is. Possibility is like an infinite array of what can happen, and then you choose with your, again, courage and your will power to enact certain actions into reality, and then that manifests certain concrete pathways that we co-create reality together, or individually in our own lives we can do things individually. So when you limit free will, you have to limit possibility, destroy possibility, which is to limit and destroy imagination. And that means people are not envisioning different ways of living without slavery or without government. So then they can't imagine, and obviously you know this, you talk to people and they're like they can't imagine a world without government. Oh well, that's anarchy, the fake anarchy. That's chaos without government. But this is how they've completely
Mm.
mind controlled people into this destruction of freedom, the limiting of freedom, which is the destruction of freedom, and the limiting of possibility is the destruction of possibility, which is the limiting and destruction of imagination. So people can't even imagine how they could live a different way than the slavery they have. Obviously, they don't call it slavery because they have a very limited definition of what slavery is. So they can't imagine their way out of the trap, the hamster wheel that they're stuck in. And the final part is on the left side, engineering immorality. So how does another part that feeds into this is the engineering of immorality from order followers whose actions harm others who are non-violent. So, uh, for example, smoking cannabis or not wearing a seatbelt or whatever, they're either kidnapping people, locking them up, or stealing money from them, or whatever thing it is, and that maintains the slave system, because that maintains the control and the limiting of what you're allowed to do or not allowed to do, which are claims of ownership, and that's your safe slavery that you get. And then the other side of the engineering immorality is overall everyone, not just the order followers, they do it as well, but everyone, the majority of everyone in the aggregate, is morality is ignored, it's rejected and denied, so they can't know how how reality functions in terms of the law of freedom, and how our behaviors create this self-inflicted suffering where we get this
Hmm.
the slave system and the safe slavery. And yeah, that's the infographic.
That's an awesome slide you got there. I
Thank
like
you.
it very much. For the people who wants to just take your time, and he went through it, but I suggest everyone to read it again and really understand, because it's a simplified approach to what is the difference between slavery and freedom. And it's a very, very beautiful slide. I like it very much. Very simple, so people can understand. And I think it's very inspiring to see to see folks and friends who are really um, putting their time to create content about the laws of freedom and morality. And I'm heavily inspired by all of you who are partaking into the great work and outside of the great work. Some people are doing the great work with charity, and they're helping people in the streets and the poor people, and the some people are taking care of the elder, and all these volunteers that are sacrificing their precious time to help our brothers and sisters everywhere. There's plenty of way of doing this beautiful work of care and love. And the one thing that we must understand is what is authority, and where and I think I'm gonna bring up the last time an excerpt from the book, the end of all evil, that I suggest to everyone. There's a French, by the way, for the French people listening. I know some of them already know because I gave them away, but there's a French version of the book that it's out now, available for it's like $9 for this incredible little book of pure knowledge. and common sense. So it's called La fin du mal in French, and it's The End of All Evil by Jeremy Locke. So the book is very well translated. It's very clear, very concise. So I encourage people to give a read to this incredible book. And having this version at $9, it's a blessing. I mean,
Yeah,
this
that's
book
good.
is awfully rare and
You can't even
expensive
find the
to
English
get.
one in print anywhere. You can't even buy it. It's sold out like everywhere.
Yeah.
I had to do a Lulu. I took the PDF and I made like a Lulu book of it, and then I printed like 4 copies and mailed it to myself.
I had it from a French website up in Europe, and I bought like 10 of them, and I gave them away. I have a few other copies there, waiting for the right people. And I why do I give it is because I mean, this is an important piece of work. I mean, people, this is where we're at now, because people don't understand it, don't understand the meaning of the words and what it means to be free, and your value as a person. I think it's crucial information for everybody. It should be, if you have a Bible at the side of your bed, it should be right at this side. This is how important I think this book is. So I'm gonna put this one up. Authority. There is no authority on earth that can rightfully govern your life. Born to this world, you and you alone control your eyes, your ears, your tongue, your hands, and your mind. All authority which claims to be able to dispose of you and your ability is deceit. You were born to this world so that you might have the free agency of life. Life is liberty. With liberty and faith in this world, you can learn and do anything. Anyone who tells you that you must yield your mind, your body, and your possession to the authority is evil. Understand the choice made of your own free will are not evil. There is nothing wrong with sacrifice if it is made willingly, but sacrifice without choice is not sacrifice. It is slavery. Authority always places demands on people by force. Authority never asks permission. This book is freaking awesome.
Yeah, I agree. It's been a long time since I read it, but I haven't
Yeah,
reread it recently. But yeah,
I
it's a gem.
love the way he explained how faith works. I like Jeremy's take on faith, and I know there's gonna be probably religious people who's gonna listen to it, but faith in this world is not about what you believe. Is what is about the experience that we have and what you do with it. And Mark Passios has a beautiful metaphor, a metaphoric concept about that. Is the children who put his hand on the stove. Children, you can tell them to not do something because they're gonna get hurt, but until they actually experience the thing that you warn them about, it's not acquired. And this is where we're at as humans. We're and I'm using the word of Mark Passio because it's very well said. We are this retarded child who keeps on fucking putting his hand over the top on the stove. We are these children as humans. I know it's hard, but it's the truth of the matter. And this is why I was talking about fear, and this is the fear of owning your own responsibility as human. What is responsibility to be a human? First of all, you must be a conscious being, and in order to be a conscious being, people need to get their head out of their asses and stop lying. Lying is gonna bring us more chaos. Truth does exist without or with your consent or your belief or your understanding of your and your perception. Truth always exists independently, and this is the one thing that I want to pound into the podcast and really bring people to what is truth. What is truth? And a lot of people are telling me truth is subjective. I did ask people questions on the French side, and it's overwhelmingly people doesn't believe in truth. Truth is subjective. Truth is perception for most people. So why do I bring that now? Because I want to bring the fact that voting is a form of violence. We're doing violence by just consenting, just scribbling something on a paper. This is a crazy, loony way of seeing things. Nobody who's I'm telling you, brother, if someone brings me la Charte des Libertés du Québec or du Canada, I'm getting fucking angry. What the fuck are you talking about, man?
Well,
It's
yeah,
like
don't you know the government is the one that grants you freedom? Come on, what's wrong with you?
I mean, la Charte des droits et libertés, it's like the Constitution,
Oh, it's
the
worse. It's not
American
even as good as
Constitution.
the
It's
American
way
one.
worse
Oh yeah.
because they're actually showing you how they're limiting your freedom. Did anyone here tonight or is going to listen to that, did you sign it as a Canadian? Did you sign this contract? Because it's contractual. It's like the American Constitution. If you didn't sign this paper, it doesn't have anything to do with you. It's crazy. I'm not saying that some of the things that are wrote in this piece of paper, this toilet paper, this garbage, doesn't mean that it's all evil, that it's all like limiting, but this is showing how people are clueless about their natural rights and what is morality and what is nature. And about that, if the people are interested, I have podcasts with Corey and Juliette. He's an awesome content creator and he's pounding his information all the time. Very well explained. He wrote books about abolitionism, about the illegitimacy of government. I invited him 2 times to talk about it. He's awesome. It's an awesome aggregate of information and really clear information, something that you can verify. So Corey Andrelat, he's part of the One Great Word Network. You can find it on YouTube. I encourage people to go there. I have yet to go to see his podcast, his presentation about Taoism that I'm very curious about. So why does it, how much violence people will be willing to suffer from until it's It's plain clear for them that people get into consciousness. I mean, here in Canada, in Quebec, people are fucking asleep at the wheel. Okay, we're riding with you're riding with people, and you're on the passenger seat, and this motherfucker is dreaming at the wheel. This is how, and every time you're going to the how they called it in French, it's urne, and urne is something an object where you put the dead
Yeah, the
inside.
urn. Yeah, or the
Yeah,
ashes. Yeah.
so you have it in the word. You're going there to die, because your responsibility, you cannot give your responsibility to someone else. If you do it, if you think you can do it, it's going to bring more harm, more violence. You're going to have to pay taxes, or maybe you're going to be victim of violence or rejection, or they're going to put you in a prison for that. This is not freedom. Government can never give you freedom. It's impossible. That's a fallacy, actually. Most of the time, the people will say, oh, what about the roads? The roads. It's the most asinine thing ever. Everybody can maintain the roads. We don't have to pay someone else to actually take your fucking money and and pay someone the third time the price that it costs for fucking pavement. We can actually do it ourselves. It's not money, it's not government who build the roads, it's our own hands. Money is only an energy, it's only a flow of energy. It doesn't have anything to do with building. Houses are not built by money. They're not actually taking money and building the house with.
Well, the money doesn't have hands either. It doesn't do anything. But the people who do the building, well, they want money to do it though. It's a it's an intermediary to get those hands moving
Yeah.
because they're
I,
not
I
going to
mean,
do it
I
for
mean,
free. Yeah.
money as such could be something that it would be it wouldn't be a problem if it wasn't uh, used as a mean for slavery and violence and war and poverty, and people putting people into camps and throwing them in the trash outside, living under the overpasses, and I mean, this is this is why we have to keep talking about this, and maybe being vitriolic or rude to people, because people, I mean, there's a lot of things to cover, you know only in the last 3 years we've seen perfected slavery. It works very well.
Well, you
And
just need fear. That's what drives it.
oh my god, I mean, we had the I mean, I don't know, it's a chance or the curse of seeing a mass psychosis. And this mass psychosis wouldn't be happen if people were smart, or self-sustaining or caring. Who suffered the most in this crisis, Chris? What would be the most touched, the most harmed during this crisis?
I think it was the elderly. In Canada, it was 88% of the deceased. I think in 2020 or 2021. Back when I used to follow all that shit a lot more. It was yeah, I think they 88% of the alleged dead were in the nursing homes.
I mean, sure, it has been an horrifying, disgusting display of hate and the lack of responsibility of the relative of these people. And what I wanted to bring is, yes, the elderly were, it was hard. I've seen it near in close experience what it did to these poor people. But I think the ones who were harmed the most was the children, teens,
Yeah, for their
preteens, and
development, yeah.
children.
The suicide rate goes up, the drug use goes up.
It's
Yeah.
fucking disgusting what they did to the children and what their parents did.
Well, the parents allowed it. Like,
It's
yeah,
it's
wear a face mask, don't learn facial recognition, emotional cues related to facial gestures, lip movements. It retarded development in
Yep,
language recognition, in emotional recognition
cognition.
of faces. Yeah.
Yeah, it was fucking disgusting. And I touched upon it during these 2 years because it has been a catalyst for the birth of the LIBERcast. Um, I mean, you have to be an irresponsible, stupid parent to have let your children go to school. And I'm not fucking messing around. I've been saying it a lot. You I don't think Quebecers as such, and I don't think any people of any nationalities, any country will let that happen to their children. Love them. I don't believe it. It's not love. It's not care. It's cowardice. It's laziness. It's consenting with evil. It's fucking disgusting. It makes me sick every time I think about it. Why why did it happen? Why this rise of violence and this rise of death or and suicide because of the lack of understanding, just pure ignorance.
Yeah. They just accepted whatever they were told. The media says this, the government says this. Ah, well, that's true. Got to wear a mask. Hey, little child, put your mask on. Does the mask do anything? Absolutely not. Doesn't do anything positive. The only thing it does is negatives. And the children weren't even the carriers, and they knew this earlier on. Well, alleged carriers, I'll say alleged carriers. And it was mostly people who bought into the propaganda who were in fear, the old people, because they thought, oh my God, the children are going to kill me. So we got to, those who bought into the scam, not the ones who knew it was a scam and just did it for control. The ones who bought into it, well, they were, well, I'm old and well, we got to do this to the children because they're the super spreaders, which was just bullshit. Even by 2021, I think as early as 2021, even I think in part in 2020, there was a school that did a study about the super spreader myth, and it was just nonsense. It wasn't coming from children, but hey, that didn't stop the mask mandates in the schools. So just keep doing it because if it doesn't work, well, who cares? Just keep doing it and believe in the fairy tale fantasy land that oh, it works. Yeah, 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 it works. Oh yeah, those shots are super safe and effective. Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, it was
That's
very
yeah.
effective to put the death ratio up.
Well, that's what we're seeing now in the stats. this year
Yeah.
and last year. You're seeing, oh, why is excess mortality? Oh, why are all these sports people dropping dead on the field? It's like, oh, well, nobody knows. Oh, really? You guys are just that willfully ignorant. Nobody knows. That's what you're talking about. The
I mean,
parents,
at
do
this
they
point,
actually
it's not
care?
ignorant, man. You're just fucking retarded. It's
Yeah,
simple
you
as
can't
that.
see reality that's just in the face. There was nothing that changed except for these shots that were given to people, and then vast aspects of health just suddenly changed, and it's not correlated at all with this new thing, this experimental injection that wasn't properly tested for safety. And there's no correlation there. You can't even see there's a possibility of a link there. That's again, they've destroyed imagination in people to even envision possibilities of things outside the status quo and the narrative, the official narrative. Well, if it's not part of the official narrative, don't even think about it, man. Don't even think. What do you need to think for? You don't need to think. You just need to accept whatever you're told. Because authority, those are the experts, which was what I've gone into in my part 2 on slavery and the natural law, the science of morality.
Hmm.
Is it's not just the belief in authority of government, it's the belief in authority and the experts, the appeal to authority, all the medicine, the news media, because that started back in 2016 with, well, these are the authoritative news sources, that's where the authoritative information comes from. So if you don't get it from there, well, that's just the internet, a bunch of conspiracy whack jobs who don't just make shit up. And well, the news, they're the ones who are authoritative and they back up their sources, and that's where you can trust and rely on the information. Same thing with schools and the medical system. Well, those are the authorities, they know what they're doing. Just take what they say. Just believe, 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 believe. Have faith, have loyalty, have trust, trust the bullshit that comes out of their mouth. These are the experts, and that's the authority. And just appeal to that. Don't look into anything yourself. Don't think for yourself. Don't do research. Don't figure out what's best for your child actually yourself. Just believe whatever they tell you to do, and that's it. They claim to care. They claim to love their children, but not enough to actually verify. Well, is this actually good for my child? They're asking me to do this. Do I just do whatever they say, hop on one leg, do a backflip, jump in the water, whatever they say? Or do I actually look, well, why are you asking me to do this? Is there a real, is it going to actually do something? Or is what you're asking me to do going to do nothing? Or is it even going to harm me or harm my child? They're not even thinking about this. So if they actually did care about their children, they would be more critical and they'd think more for themselves as opposed to just blindly accepting whatever authority tells them. Hey, go on that train cart. You're going to a nice resort, a nice vacation. You're not going to a camp. We're not going to work you to death. No, that's what's going to end up coming probably. With how things are going to get worse and worse. And you were saying, how much suffering is it going to take for people? I think the more suffering, chaos is a teacher, as Passio
Yep.
aptly teaches, and I've talked about in my work too. Chaos is a teacher. That's the left-hand path of natural law, and the right-hand path is ma'at. The left-hand path is isfet, and one is order and one is chaos. So you can learn through alignment and learning from your mistakes and learning what natural law is and morality and aligning with that, or you can receive suffering and chaos and learn from that, or not learn from that and just, like you were alluding to earlier, I forget what you said, but that's basically what you were saying, that that they're retarded. I think that's what you said at the beginning there, that they're just not learning. They're just, oh yeah, the burning the hand, right, with the child. So they just keep burning and burning and burning, and they're not learning their mistakes.
And
So
I'm using the word retarded, not because not to say people have like a debilitating like a disease. I'm retarded means that you
slowed down.
slowed down and stopped in your evolution and your consciousness and your maturity. As this is why I keep using this word. I like this very much because it's a very objective word that I use because of that, and it brings the my point in in the equation there. And I mean, I we don't I don't want to be a gentle. I don't want it to be sweet. I don't want to be. I want the truth that hits people hard. This is what I'm doing. I was I was already a anti-conformist and anarchist in my younger years because I understood these things real young in my life, and I still have hard time understanding people. And I had this conversation with people, uh, with a lot of people. What is the justification for government and violence? And there was no commonsensical argument against anarchy or abolitionism, because this complaisance there, it's taught at a younger age. You're going to school, they're gonna indoctrinate you into conformity. So they're, if you're different from the others, they're gonna categorize you as a ADHD thing. There's a lot of different words that they're using for characterizing the spirit of rebellion
Yeah, the
that
new one
people
is
have inside of them. And
ODD, oppositional defiance
yeah,
disorder.
absolutely.
Oh my God, you oppose authority. Oh, you got ODD.
Yeah, you're mentally diseased.
Yeah.
You have a mental illness. And I think one of the things that keep us um enslaved is sure, media is going to be one of the biggest one. And when you control the opinions of the masses, this is, and I'm going to keep repeating it, the power of authority and tyranny is not in money, it's in influence. This is where their power resides, and how they're putting this power out by words. That's all. They're gonna say words to you, you're gonna believe or not, and then there's gonna be consequence for that. There's consequence for everything. And actually, the people who are voting, the consequences is my enslavement, and the enslavement of my children, and the enslavement of my family, and the enslavement of Chris right there, and the people who are listening. This is the consequence. This is why voting is violence, and democracy is a lie. It's a fraud. It's a ruse to take your critical thinking and your free will, and bypass this part, because you're scared shitless of what the possibility of chaos, so the possibility of liberty and freedom, and they're using it against you. Critical thinking is crucial, is important. And I keep saying it, and I'm gonna say it again. Just don't believe us. Don't believe the thing that we're saying now, and go see for yourself. You have to open a book and read a book about history. Sure, you be careful of where you put you get your information, and stay objective about it. But we're two guys, we're two nowhere guys, we're trying to bring common sense to people. So that, I mean, we could like talk about it every day during years, but it wouldn't still have any or a little, maybe a little percentage of the people will get it, and really start to do something about it. And what is the first thing that these people say to you? What can I do? They're too strong.
That's
And
because they're looking at it as
yeah,
a me alone versus the system. And that's the problem. They're looking at it that way. It's a long process, like it. That's why we're doing what we're doing, because Passio has explained it well. It takes numbers. You're not going to do it. Little old me versus what 10,000 cops in Quebec or whatever, or whatever province or whatever country you're in. It
true.
doesn't matter. you're one person. So yeah, okay, little old you can't do anything, but it's not you who's going to fight everything. Plus, you got everyone whose ignorance is evil. In their ignorance, they support evil, and it makes them evil. Just that's what the voting is.
Mm-hmm.
In that ignorance, well, they believe they can participate in the creation of evil in an indirect manner, not directly with their actions, but in an indirect action by voting. Well, they get evil to perpetuate. They perpetuate the persistence of evil as a system of control, the societal enslavement that we live in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, we do what we do is to get those numbers to eventually push back and change things, or not even like if enough people just got it, like hypothetically instantly, if 75% of people got it, well, there's your instant change. Society would instantly change. And if the evil ones would still do something, try to do something to enslave the rest, well, we would be in a position of numbers to resist in a physical way where they would be, they would be dealt with. But that takes numbers to get there. You're not going to do it just one person or 10 people or 100 people. And that's why you have to do the great work of trying to influence others as a magician of a positive influence to get their consciousness to change. Because that's what the whole problem is you mentioned before, money can be used. Yeah, maybe eventually we could get rid of it, and until then it's all about consciousness and how the money is used, and not all these manipulations of speculative markets and bailouts and bail-ins to get all these frauds bailed out and just keep them executing their fraudulent mechanisms and systems where we get inflation, another hidden tax, and then we get shoved more into poverty while they get enriched for doing immoral things and defrauding us, and they get rewarded by continuing to do it, and they take our money to give it to the rich people, and then we get the inflation later and our money gets devalued, and that just keeps going and going and going and going.
Yeah, and you brought up something, and I want to talk about it, and it's validation and the fear of not being accepted.
Oh, by yeah, your or your
Your
immediate
peers,
family or
your
your friends or
family.
society. Yeah, yeah. Ostracizing, being
Yeah.
ostracized and rejected. Yeah.
So being yourself it can be will not help you make friends for sure, but the ones you're gonna get are the best. If you confront people with the truth, most people will take it as an personal attack because they are part of this cult that we call government. And this is a cult. This is a collectivist mindset. It is a it's it stills consent. It stills the essence of what is to be a human. You cannot you cannot be someone who thinks outside of the cube. If you're going outside, there's going to be consequence for sure. It's not going to be easy, but we need to keep pushing. We need to go through all this a tedious work of repeating all the time these information, because they're very good at it. They're very good at controlling the opinion of the masses, you know. And just like that, they proved to us 3 years ago that it can be, the switch was turned on, and you got this schizophrenic psychosis that started to destroy the living tissues of society. So what I mean by that is that it created divisions, it created schisms that we already had, like a plenty of that before, but it has been a crazy 3 years, and I'm not here in I mean here in Quebec. It's not done. It's not over, and people will get right into it. Will keep on going back, and because why? Because people are cowards.
Yeah, they're obedient little bitches. That's what we
Yeah,
got.
yeah, and we and I did not say that to you, Chris, but it's okay to swear here and using bad words. I consider the LIBERcast as an adult podcast. It's for real adults, responsible adult. This is what the kind of people that I want to have around, who are ready to share it, who are ready to get implicated in every stratus. And I'm not saying that you have to do a podcast and you have to go and understand the all of the occult and the knowledge and psychology. We're talking about doing little things, and then you're doing another little things, and it keeps on growing. And this is what we need to do, is get back together. This is together that we're the strongest. We stand all, and we can change it just like that. If we were enough people and enough smart people, we could turn the wave just like that. Because it's all about consent. The mind control is the source of everything. We created this world because we are children. We are prisoners of our own minds because of the lack of knowledge about mind control. And this is why we have to repeat again and again until people understand, start to understand the even the fundamental basics of mind control, what it means to be mind control. How do you get out of mind control? And I'm going to repeat it again. If you want to get out of mind control, you have to have the knowledge about it. If you don't understand it, if you don't know that it exists, you're never going to be free. Doesn't mean that you have to go out with your guns and start to shoot at all at the government. We need smart, we need caring people. We need, as men and women, men and women, this is, we need everyone. Doctors, we need people who's gonna stand up against evil. And I moral relativism is really a force. And when you really realize how deep the rabbit hole is, it's a frightening a thing. But we have to go through this. It's like the shadow work. Why do I keep talking about the shadow work? Because it's the basis of freedom. It's to free yourself, free your mind, free it with your emotion, being in control, equilibrium of your consciousness. If you didn't work that, if you don't have the knowledge, you cannot resolve that. It's impossible, because we're keep like losing the balance all the time, because we're attacked from everywhere. I don't know if you want to bring something, if you have other things, but just do you have is it evolve consciousness? Is it the only place that we can see your work?
There's YouTube, Odyssey, but the links are on Evolve Consciousness. That's my site, and that's where
Okay, so evolve
everything is accessible from.
consciousness on YouTube and Odyssey and all these
Yeah,
places that get that been. And please, people, if you encounter these people who are sacrificing their time, like what we're doing tonight, go encourage these people. Go encourage Chris. Go encourage all of the One Great Work Network. I know there's Joe in Quebec that he's doing a phenomenal work for exposing the corruption and the fraud and the violence and the inconsistencies of the government and the tyrannical authority that we're in. And we need to we really need to fucking wake up and stand up for ourselves. Just forget your car, forget your house, forget your mortgage, because it will not matter when it's going to be about preserving your family, your loved ones, and your relative. It's not going to matter anymore. And we need to fucking stop lying to ourselves and stop lying to the people you love. Don't go out and vote. Don't do it. This is what they want you to do. Don't do it. Don't give your consent. Be be truthful for yourself. Be truthful to your family and children, and keep on acquiring knowledge. Knowledge is the solution to ignorance. Stop cowering in the corners of your apartment. This is what it means. It means you get up of your lazy ass and you do something. Don't wait it to be perfect. Don't wait and be afraid of doing mistakes, of being accepted or validation, or being afraid of not being validated by other people. It's bigger than anything you people can think about. It's I'm not doing it for myself. I'm not doing it for Chris. I'm doing it for my children and for the children of the people around me. It's not a selfish thing. I'm doing it because I want a I mean, just for my children to have a life that doesn't bring them into more overt slavery. I want them to be happy. I want them to be uh, 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 comfortable and healthy. And just this prince, just care. Just if you care about your people around you, if you care about the children, if you care about the elders and your neighbors, I mean, this is the way to do it. There's no other ways to do it, and it's to change and better yourself, and then being active to actually change this world, transform it. I'm using the alchemist language for that.
That's what
It
it is. It's
Yeah,
alchemy. You have to do the
exactly.
alchemy on yourself and then influence others to get them to understand that they need to do that to themselves. And then they need to do what you did to them so that they can influence others. And then that other person can influence others. And then that's the only way. That's why we're here doing what we do, so that it's a snowball. It needs to grow. And the more people that do it, the more that snowball can grow and gain in size and increase those numbers. And that's how we can do it.
And
Without using our fists or anything to fight back, and just it's all about consciousness, and that's why the
yeah,
shadow work is important,
I
and
mean, I
knowing
mean,
the definition of morality. That's how you stop participating, because if you don't know the definition of morality or immorality, then you're going to continue to do the things that are immoral, such as voting. That's why ignorance is evil. In terms of ignorance of morality is evil, because when you're ignorant of what the difference between right and wrong is, then you're most
mhm,
likely engaging in wrong because you don't even know that you are engaging in wrong. So it's for you to stop doing it. And that's the most important part of alchemy, is moral self-actualization and individuation, and recognizing the darkness in you so that you can stop doing it, the evil, the demon in you, and sublimate and transmute it and let go of it and choose a different path and different actions that can stop feeding the beast of control, such as by voting.
yeah, and I mean, we can like talk about it like all that during hours.
Yeah, hours and
I
hours and
would I
hours.
would have uh plenty of things to talk about, but I think for an intro into that, and to not I mean, I have a responsibility, and Chris probably have responsibilities outside, and I mean, all this what we've covered is can be resumed in one question: how much do you care? How much do you care about about yourself and your children in the future? And what can you do in the now?
And that's even a more of a selfish position. It's about yourself and your children. But do you care? So
Yep,
yes, from your children, do you even care for their freedom? Like you were saying, the
yep,
motivation, you want your children to be free. And if you don't, if you're doing nothing, if you're not trying to influence others to change by creating content as the new form of literacy through technology of digital content, then
yep,
do you actually care about your children if you're just willing to let the slavery perpetuate and not do anything about it? And the apart from that personal position of caring for your children, well, then it's about freedom for all or freedom for none. It's not just going to be freedom for you or freedom for your children. It's only about the only way we get there is through true freedom, which was my last presentation. It's about freedom for all, as that's the understanding of in the simplified term of as one suffers, we all suffered. That is
yep.
overly simplified, but that encapsulates the meaning of freedom for
Hmm.
all. It's about getting the freedom for all, or else we don't have true freedom. If you're going to create just freedom for yourself and you won't have any enslavement for yourself, well, what about everybody else? And you don't actually have true freedom in your society as long as other people are still being enslaved, even if you end up as the master above everybody else and you're not being violated in any way. Well, there isn't true freedom in your existence. And you're just going to be uprooted yourself for all the people who want to be dominators. It's a cutthroat way of living, and then you're just going to be someone else is going to be a dominator, and then you're going to be part of the violated. And anyways, they create a system of hell where it's not beneficial for them or their children anyways in the larger scope, and it's just a diluted way of thinking where they think they can
Yeah,
maximize the most benefits for themselves.
yeah. It's a dogmatic based culture. Actually, is based on almost nothing but words. The I mean, sometimes I get I'm worrying, and everyone who have children, if you don't worry, I don't know what's wrong with you. I decided I really love my children, and this is why they're never gonna go to school. You know why? Because I have the power, I have the understanding, I have the will to educate my own children. I can do it. If you know how to read, how to count numbers, how to write, you can teach that to your children. You can show them the real knowledge, how to grow food, how to self introspect, and how to understand natural law and the cause and effect and the mentalism and the correspondence. It's a fairly easy thing to understand, and even children, if you tell them, they will understand these principles. You do something, there's effect on it. So it's very, very basic. Any adult that you can talk with, they're going to say, yeah, that's common sense. Exactly. It's common sense. This is what we're doing. We're talking common sense. If we can take natural law and what we talked about, it's common sense. It's pure common sense. It's not a selfish thing. It's not, we're not doing it for money. So it's about care. Care for ourselves, care about the others, care about all things. Every is important. Every details are important. Don't let yourself go. Don't put your head up and fucking go through the shit you're going through. Life is just like that, you know? So, I mean, thank you so much, Chris, for being with me tonight in improvised podcast with me and sharing your knowledge with people. And I encourage people to go on YouTube and Odysee on Evolve Consciousness and go encourage this gentleman who has been made an awesome work, and all the people at the One Great Work that are sacrificing their precious time to put knowledge about natural law, about the occult into the world, so can people wake up and really being conscious. There's only one thing we can do. It's keep on going and not stopping. There's two things that can happen when you're in the path to truth is you're going all the way. Truth can be discovered. Truth is discoverable. Truth is permanent. It's always there. Just align yourself with it. Align your perception with truth. It's when we're telling it like that, it's like, what the fuck is truth? But truth is what is. It's simple as that. You're going outside, you're seeing the trees, you're seeing the mountains, you're seeing the children and the people. This is the truth. It's not an easy thing and loony concept of philosophy and things like that. Truth is simple. It's always simple. It's not always easy. Never, almost never. But truth is always there to be discovered. So thank you everyone for being there and sharing your precious time with us and commenting. Thank you so much for being there, and all the guests that were there, and the coming podcast, and the next one will be in French, and I'm gonna do exactly what I did tonight. It's to pound this information so people can share it. People share this stuff. We need this stuff all everywhere. This is how we fight censorship. Share the stuff, record it. It's all free. You're going in the LIBERcast or Evolve Consciousness on Odysee. Everything is free. You can download all this stuff, put in a backup, re-upload it. It's simple as that. I mean, I put my stuff there. It's for people to get the information and get what you need, and then share this stuff up. It's simple as that. If you're ready, you have to do it yourself. That's not an obligation to do a podcast in front of a camera and getting all this thing up. But you can do little things in your local area. You can help people, and every little things that we do, it's important for the betterment of humans. And share this care. It's the word here. So have a good night, everyone, and thank you for being there. And I know I'm repeating myself, but I have gratitude to all these beautiful people that are partaking in the LIBERcast. So good night, everyone, and see you next in French language, and we're gonna swear in Quebecers.
Thanks for
All right,
having me. Merci, bonne nuit.
thank you. Good night, everyone.